Before the last Roman legions left Britain, before history faded into legend, whispers began of a city that shone brighter than the world around it, a place of justice, loyalty, and impossible ideals, a city called Camelot. At its heart stood a king who was never supposed to rule, who pulled a sword from stone and gathered knights not for conquest, but for honor. And yet, for more than 1,000 years, historians have asked a dangerous question: what if Camelot was never a myth at all? Imagine Britain in the late 5th century. The empire that once ruled the world has collapsed, leaving the island fractured, vulnerable, and soaked in blood. Saxon invaders press in from the east, warlords rise and fall, and survival is the only law that matters. In this chaos, stories begin to circulate of a warrior leader Arthur who unites the Britons against annihilation. Not a crowned king, but a commander. Not a magician's puppet, but a man of war. The earliest mention of him, written centuries later, doesn't speak of castles or round tables. It speaks of battles. 12 of them. And one final, devastating clash at a place called Mount Badon. At Badon, according to legend, the Saxon advance was shattered. Britain breathed again. For a generation, peace followed. But here's the twist: no contemporary Roman record names Arthur. No official chronicle confirms his crown. The silence itself is strange. Victors usually leave evidence, unless their story survives only in memory, passed from mouth to mouth, growing with every retelling. By the 9th century, Arthur becomes more than a warrior. He becomes a symbol. Monks write of him as a chosen king. Poets dress him in glory. And then, in the 12th century, everything changes. A writer named Geoffrey of Monmouth pens a dramatic history that introduces Camelot as the shining heart of Arthur's kingdom. Suddenly, there are knights with names, a wizard called Merlin, a queen named Guinevere, and a betrayal that will doom them all. Camelot is described not just as a city, but as an ideal place where power is restrained by virtue, where the strong protect the weak. But here's the mystery: Geoffrey never says where Camelot actually is. No coordinates, no map, just a name that echoes across centuries. And so the hunt begins. Some believe Camelot was in Winchester, once the capital of Anglo-Saxon England. Medieval kings certainly thought so. They displayed the famous round table there, but carbon dating later revealed the table was built hundreds of years after Arthur's supposed lifetime, a tribute, not proof. Others point west, to Cadbury Castle in Somerset. This ancient hill fort towers above the countryside, and locals have called it Camelot for centuries. Archaeologists discovered that in Arthur's era, the site was massively refortified: thick walls, imported luxury goods, evidence of a powerful elite, a stronghold fit for a war leader. Yet no inscription bears Arthur's name, no sword waits in the earth. Then there's Tintagel, clinging dramatically to the cliffs of Cornwall. Tradition claims Arthur was conceived there. Excavations uncovered high-status buildings and Mediterranean pottery, wine oil, goods from Byzantium. Proof that a ruler of remarkable influence once lived there. But again, influence is not identity. The deeper scholars dig, the more slippery Camelot becomes. Some argue it was never a single place at all. Instead, Camelot may have been a composite, an idealized memory stitched together from multiple strongholds, magnified by hope during dark times. When life is brutal, legends become shelter. And Arthur himself, was he a Roman officer named Arthurius, a Welsh king, several leaders merged into one heroic figure, or just a myth born to explain a rare moment of unity? Here's the cruel irony: the more archaeology uncovers, the less certain the answer becomes. Every promising site proves that powerful leaders existed, but none can claim the crown of Camelot outright. It's as if the legend resists capture, dissolving whenever it gets too close to fact. Perhaps that's the point. Camelot endures not because we can find its walls, but because of what it represents: a longing for fair leadership, for unity over chaos, for a time when power served something greater than itself. Whether Arthur lived or not, his story shaped kings, inspired revolutions, and defined what people believed a ruler should be. And somewhere between myth and history, between broken swords and buried cities, Camelot still stands, not on a map, but in the human imagination. If you enjoyed this journey into legend and lost history, Don't forget to like, follow, comment, and subscribe for more, because some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only explored.